folks, a new reputation is being added in patch 11.1 for the Zone of Undermine, but this one is a bit complicated. This main new faction is called Cartels of Undermine, and as usual, it comes with a Renown track that grants you various player power and cosmetic rewards as you progress through it. The main difference is that you'll also be able to affiliate yourself with a specific Undermine cartel every single week, and each one comes with its own separate reputation track. I'll explain this system in a bit more detail later on in the video, but I want to make one thing absolutely clear before we continue. The specific cartel you select here can actually make a difference in terms of how much reputation you're able to earn each week. This directly contradicts what most content creators and news sites have been saying, but I can't exactly blame them for getting it wrong. On the surface, your cartel selection appears to be a purely cosmetic choice that only changes which mounts, pets, and toys you're able to buy. However, after extensive testing on the PTR, I've managed to confirm that each cartel not only has access to different sets of world quests, but the rewards of said world quests are not standardized for every cartel. This means one week a specific cartel may have access to better world quest rewards than the others, and while this will come down to random chance, it is a clear example of player power differences depending on your selection. Again, I'll discuss the implications of this later in the video, but I felt it was important to make sure you knew that my thumbnail wasn't actually clickbait, my testing was just more thorough compared to everyone else's. With that out of the way, let's rewind a little bit and explain how this reputation system works. At first glance, you may look at the different subcartels and be reminded of Ashkahet's faction from the start of the expansion. In that system, all of your reputation gains went towards the Weaver, the General, or the Vizier, and each full renown level you earned with one of them would carry over to the separate threads. This is not how things work in Undermine. Although the main faction is called Cartels of Undermine, and it's listed directly alongside the 4 subcartels on the reputation page, they are completely separate entities as far as the actual reputation points are concerned. To further illustrate this point, the subcartels actually use the old neutral to exalted reputation system from older expansions, rather than the renown tracks introduced back in Dragonflight. So in case it wasn't already clear, you will not get a renown level for Cartels of Undermine if you reach the next reputation tier for a subcartel. Similarly, any reputation tokens you see on the map for a specific cartel will only apply to that faction's reputation bar. You will not receive an equivalent amount of rep for the Cartels of Undermine parent faction. If you're like me and the only thing you're concerned about is player power, then the primary cartel's rep is the only thing you should worry about. On that note, it's time to discuss the important subject of where you'll farm all of the reputation for this faction. For starters, you'll get large one-time chunks of renown for completing the Undermine campaign. In total, completing the campaign should grant you around 4 full renown levels, which is considerably less than we've gotten in previous content patches. This is mainly because a few campaign chapters only reward 1000 reputation when they're completed, even though the standard used to be a full renown level per chapter. That being said, the final chapter of the campaign isn't testable in the PTR, and it's also unclear how much will be accessible during the first week of the patch. In addition to the campaign, there are also 13 different side quest lines which are listed under the Sojourner of Undermine achievement. The final questline is once again not testable on the PTR, but the other 12 give either 100 or 200 rep when you complete the final quest in the chain. If we average this out to 150 rep per questline, we can expect about 1950 rep for completing the achievement. It's worth noting that not all of these questlines are located inside of Undermine itself. A few chains will start in the new areas added to the Ringing Deeps or Zuldazar. Lastly, there are 3 quests that you'll pick up shortly after entering Undermine which direct you to clear the new dungeon, Operation Floodgate, and the 2 new delves. Each of these one-time quests will reward you with 500 additional reputation. While that covers all of the one-time rep sources, there are multiple activities that you can complete every single week. During the campaign, you'll unlock access to world events throughout the Zone of Undermine, and there are 3 associated weekly quests that you can grab at the Incontinental Hotel, which is the main hub for the Cartels of Undermine faction. Each of these 3 weekly quests will give you 1000 reputation for a total of 3k rep every single week. Additionally, you can pick up 4 side gig quests every week near the entrance to Undermine, and each one gives 50 rep for a total of 200. The other main weekly rep source is located in Dornegal. The old weekly quest to complete a specific War Within dungeon has been updated to include 1500 Cartels of Undermine rep as a new reward choice. There's also the weekly Sparks of War PvP quest, which grants 250 reputation with a random faction that changes depending on the active zone. Undermine will only be the selected zone once every 5 weeks, but whenever that occurs, you'll be able to earn 250 additional Cartels rep by completing this quest. Additionally, there's a World Quest bonus event that occurs every few weeks, and while it's active, you can complete a weekly quest to earn a full Renown level with a faction of your choice. Coincidentally, this event will be active during the week of February 25th, and although I can't be 100% certain that the Undermine reputation has been added to this quest, I would say it's a safe bet. As a small bonus note, it has been confirmed that the weekly reputation bonus from Bountiful Delves will now include Cartels of Undermine as well, and this provides you with an additional 1000 reputation every single week. If you want to understand more about how this rep bonus works, I'll link a short video that I made back when the expansion launched which explains it in a bit more detail. However, it's currently unclear how much of the Season 2 Delve changes will be available on the week of February 25th, so this might not be a weekly rep option until March 4th. Alongside all of these aforementioned rep sources, it wouldn't be a new patch if it didn't also come with new rare mobs. In total, Undermine has 21 new rares, but 11 of them are on a daily lockout and the other 10 are weekly kills. The daily rare mobs will give you 20 rep apiece, and you'll be able to earn 1000 rep every week by killing the other 10. For anyone truly interested in grinding Cartels of Undermine rep, rare hunting will likely take up a large chunk of your time, and there are some fairly weird changes this time around which make it a bit more complicated. In order to avoid half of this video's runtime being dedicated solely to rare mobs, I've decided to make a separate video on my second channel which goes over all of the spawn locations and the super min-maxy farming details. If that sounds interesting to you, I've included a link to that video in the description below. Of course, I've decided to save the best topic for last, as we can finally talk about world quests. On the surface, these work exactly the same in Undermine as they do the rest of Khazalgar. There are bi-weekly special assignment world quests that grant 200 reputation, and each regular world quest you complete will give you 50 rep with Cartels of Undermine. As always, this patch also adds a new contract which can be crafted by scribes. The recipe can be purchased off the Quartermaster after you've reached Renown 5, and at max quality it'll grant 15 reputation with Cartels of Undermine every time you complete a world quest. Just like in previous patches, this 15 rep bonus will also apply when you complete a world quest in other War Within zones, though obviously this is a bit min-maxy and I don't expect the majority of players to go this far. Now that we've covered the basics, it's time to address the aforementioned problem of each cartel having a different set of world quests. From what I can tell, the world quests in Undermine are split 50-50. Half of them will be shared across every single cartel, both in terms of their objectives and their rewards. The other half pick from a pool unique to each cartel, and they can have completely different rewards ranging from resonance crystals on the low end to additional Cartels of Undermine rep on the high end. For example, towards the end of the final PTR week, the Bilgewater and Steamweedle cartels had access to a world quest with an additional Cartel's rep token, and this rewarded 100 rep with the main faction. No world quests with this token were present for Blackwater or Venture Co. To top it off, a different Steamweedle world quest rewarded additional coffer key fragments. If you're unaware, this can be combined into a coffer key which lets you earn additional loot from Bountiful Delves. Delve loot can be very powerful early on in the season, so one faction getting both additional rep and additional coffer fragments puts them at a clear advantage. Also, before I go on, I want to quickly mention that confirming my theory about how these world quests worked required me to get the help of multiple friends from my guild, since obviously I could only pick one cartel per week. My friends Tim, Butta, and Artie all hopped onto the PTR and completed the campaign intro just to help me test this. Without their help, I wouldn't have been able to share this information with all of you, so I wanted to make sure that their efforts were acknowledged in this video. With all of that being said, the biggest issue with the system is that you'll have no way to view the world quest rewards until after you've made your choice, and there is no way to reselect your cartel until the next weekly reset. There's no elegant solution to this problem, as I lack access to a crystal ball, so I can't just predict which cartel will be the best selection for the first week of the patch. However, the moment servers go live, I will be streaming and testing the rep farming process over on my Twitch channel, which is also linked in the description. My plan is to start the campaign on my alt account in order to unlock the cartel selection, and I'll have a few friends from my guild do the same. Within a few hours of the patch being live in North America, I should have access to at least one person in every cartel, and I'll be able to manually check the rewards for every world quest. At this point, I'll update the pinned comment on this video if one cartel has better rewards than the other. Unfortunately, I only play on North American servers, so I won't be able to check the world quests in Europe. However, if any good Samaritans in the EU want to repeat this test and message me the results, I'll update the pinned comment to reflect that as well. That covers all of the primary ways in which you'll earn rep for the Cartels of Undermine. But I want to end the video by discussing a few more min-maxy rep farming strategies, as well as why all of this actually matters. First, it's important to remember that the Darkmoon Fair rolls around on the first full week of every month, and it will be active once again on March 2nd. While this event is active, you can obtain a 10% rep buff by riding the carousel, so it may be worth waiting for this buff before you complete any one-time or weekly activities. Finally, I want to cover the importance of actually farming this reputation, or lack thereof. Although many people will want to grind reputation with Cartels of Undermine, I think it's worth mentioning that the rewards this time around are considerably less valuable than in previous patches. There are 4 main sources of player power within the Cartels of Undermine Renown track: free carved crests that bypass the seasonal cap, an extra restored coffer key at Renown 9, some 636 item level champion track gloves at Renown 14, and an enchanted runed Undermine crest at Renown 20. Although these rewards are similar to the ones offered in every patch since 10.1 in Dragonflight, the relative value is a lot lower because of delves. As long as you keep up with your weekly quests, it's pretty easy for any solo player to earn tons of champion track gear from tier 8 bountiful delves, which makes the 636 gloves far less enticing. The coffer key and free crests are nice, sure, but that isn't enough to really justify farming rep until your eyes bleed. Ultimately, the only reward truly worth farming for is the free enchanted crest, but there's one small problem. You may have noticed that I didn't discuss any infinitely farmable rep sources within this video, and that's because they don't exist. The reality of Cartels of Undermine rep is that no matter how much of it you farm, you will eventually hit a wall and be forced to wait until the next week. Based on my napkin math, it should be literally impossible to reach Renown 20 by the time you enter the new raid on March 4th. And if you're a hardcore raider, that makes the free enchanted crest a lot less valuable. Additionally, on March 11th we'll get another free enchanted crest simply by defeating Gallywix on story mode. What this means is that you won't need to worry about reaching Renown 20 until March 18th at the earliest, as I suspect this is when you'll obtain your second crafting spark. It'll still be worth it to use this enchanted crest on your second crafted piece to save a bit of currency, but the fact that you have multiple weeks to complete this grind will make it a lot more achievable. It's impossible to say for certain how many of the weekly activities you'll need to complete if you want to reach this breakpoint, so the minor rep differences between each cartel may not actually matter in the end. However, I still felt it was important to include this information within my guide, just in case that rep ends up being the difference maker. Either way, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could toss it a like, as that'll help other people find it as well.